In this next slide deck, we're going to discuss configuring the configuration of the certificate authority. So we're going to get into a little bit more detail on all of these terms. Certificate authority, enrollment web server. These are all the different roles that we could have installed in the installation process. Now I'll explain a little bit more about what each of these are. So the certificate authority, so there's several configuration tasks that have to be taken care of before the CA can be used properly. We have to configure certificate templates. We have to configure enrollment options, configure the online responder, revocation, and so forth. So if you installed an enterprise CA, you're going to have a number of predefined certificate templates that can be configured to generate these certificates. So in 2012, you have 4 versions of the certificate templates. Version 1, which is supported by Server 2003 and 2000. Version 2, which is supported by 2003 Enterprise and later, then version 3 supported by Windows 2008, and version 4, which is supported by Windows Server 2012. And as well as Vista and later, so Windows 7 and Windows 10. And you'll see those here under the certificate templates. So auto-enrollment, so I think I talked a little bit about this before. When you install an enterprise certificate authority, it supports auto-enrollment. So when auto-enrollment is configured, users and devices do not have to make an explicit certificate request to be issued certificates. So devices, users, and so forth can automatically be issued a certificate when auto-enrollment is enabled. So auto-enrollment is enabled in the Computer Configuration User Configuration node in the Group Policy Management Console. And auto-enrollment is configured for certificate templates in the Request Handling, Issuance, Requirements, and Security tabs of the Templates Property dialog box. So this is what it looks like here when you set up auto-enrollment. Generally, you're going to want to use auto-enrollment so people don't have to request their own certificate. However, if they do want to request their own certificate, or if they're on a non-Windows device and need to request a certificate, they can do so through a number of different methods. So one of those is the certificate snap-in. So this method for requesting certificates can only be used with enterprise CAs. Obviously, auto-enrollment is preferred, but you can do a manual requests. Some reasons you might want to use a manual request is if you want users to know their certificate information, or if you have specialized templates that are used for certain users for some certain use case. So this is what it would look like if you're going to use the snap-in to request a certificate from the certificate authority, from the enterprise certificate authority. You can also request a certificate through a web page, and again, this requires that you installed this role. But assuming you installed the web enrollment service, users will be able to open up a web browser, and they'll fill out a form to request their certificate, and then they'll receive their certificate. So this is another option. And then you can also use network device enrollment service. So some network devices like routers and switches and so forth, they can automatically request certificates. And why would they do this? This is so they can do encryption, right? So things like IPsec, which is which we use for VPNs and so forth. Network devices can do this encryption automatically, and if they request a certificate, they can use your certificate to do their encryption. So you can make sure that you have all of your encryption within your own ecosystem. Those routers and switches will not have to go out to a third-party CA. They can use your root CA in Active Directory. So Windows does support integrating with Cisco, which has a proprietary protocol that can be used by those devices to request a certificate from Active Directory. And again, you would need to have the role installed for that to work. And then we have smart cards. So smart cards also will need certificates. Generally, you can have an agent that can enroll smart card certificates on behalf of users, but they do have to be configured in order to do that. They have to have a special type of certificate in order to request certificates on behalf of other users. So Windows Server 2012 offers restricted enrollment agents to do so. And then we have the online responder, which is generally used for CRLs. So instead of having to download the certificate revocation list in order to know which certificates have been revoked, you can simply do a call to the CA to find out if a certificate is valid or not, if the certificate's been revoked. That call is using a web service, so it does require the web server role to be installed in order for that to work. Just like the other role that we discussed also requires the web service role, or the web server role rather. So to create a revocation, a revocation configuration tells the CA what methods are available for clients to access CRLs. So to create a revocation certification, you use Active Directory Certificate Services Snap-in under the Roles node in Server Manager. And this is what it looks like. In the final slide deck, I'm going to discuss PKI, one last time, maintaining and managing PKI in Active Directory.